All right, test. Welcome to another edition of Italian Computers by Inc. Production by Italian Computers Inc. Um, I am your host, Sal Cosentino. I'm the system architect and trainer for today. Um, so i- in this session, I'll be talking about Google Admin and how to manage your Google Workspace for your organization. You can create a free trial. Again, you just need to click on that, right? But I've already done it. I'll show you guys how to do that. I'm not going to actually create one for you, but I'll show you how to do it. Just easily get started and follow the prompts. Um, Again, you might have to follow the information and whatnot, and then continue through the. So, for example, if I were to just do this, just to kind of show you, right, what the next prompt looks like. See, then I would have to send my contact info, my surname, and my current email address. Once that's done, you just click next, and so forth and so forth. So I already have a admin console. I'm going to sign into it. Right. So in order in order to do that, you have to have access to an administrator account, right? And in any browser, we just go to admin.google.com, right? And then enter in your work or school account, right? And then click next. And then once prompted, um, we type in our password. Again, you can use a class password. The class password is whatever you want it to be. Just make sure that you remember it, and then you store it somewhere um, where you know where it is. That way, um, all right. So here's the uh, admin portal, guys. So right now I have two active users and one that I've deleted. Again, I can update users' names and emails. I can create all the. This session is just to kind of show you around and how it works. Um, you know, uh, Give me 1 second. Okay, well, I'm back. Again, this is where you discover your Google Workspace and all the different informations that you need. Get your product updates, your alerts, your domain information, your devices, your groups, and whatnot. Um, it's pretty easy to navigate, but again, you should have an actual, you should have a professional who knows how to use this and knows how to direct it properly, because it does get complicated in certain areas. It has evolved throughout the years, and things have changed. As you can see, you'll see like the blue tags here with new on it. That's just something that currently came out. This is totally up to date. It's 2024, and its application is here for your company and how to use it. So when we look at the directory, um, we look at the different users, groups, target audiences, organizational units, buildings and resources. room insight settings, manager, directory settings, and directory sync beta. Inside your directory, you can create your users and groups. And again, I've already created 2 users, fictitious users. That way, we're able to um, show you how it looks like in real time. So the data itself, again, you can add a new one. You can bulk update. I think I've shown, again, you can download the blank CSV template. And then once you download the blank CSV template, right, you can open the file and this will open up in Excel, right? So, so for example, that's fine. I have to activate this one. That's fine. I'm not going to use it. I don't need it. So anyway, just to kind of show you, so again, these are the specific tabs, right? These are the specific tabs. So if I'm looking at it, all this information has to be filled up. So anything that's required has to be filled up. So your first name, and you'll note that if you look at it, you'll see that there's a first name, last name, email address, password, and you'll see some of the information marked as required here at the top in your Excel sheet. And then you also see that it marks required up at the top. Then we also have secondary. We also have must be an E.164 format for any of you guys that are Excel enthusiasts, and there is the E164 format. I'm not going to explain to you what that is. You guys can Google that. Um, then we also have our plain information like our employee ID. So our Q column and our R column has to do with the employee type. This is actually a good documentation for your for your HR department or for your management. That way they can resolve certain things here and import and export easily. Um, as a onboarding and offboarding users, you tend to uh, modify this chart um, a lot, right? And you can automate this chart to whatever you want and have this chart automated with the specific formulas that are included, right? I'm not going to show you those specific formulas, but again, you can automate this stuff and you can remove and hide specific things and view specific titles. It does get lengthy, right? So we're looking up until AC. Like there's a lot of data in here, but again, you don't really need some of that data. You can always fill the data that's required, right? And then add the more important stuff like the employee name, where the manager is, the department, cost center, stuff like that, and then continue from there. Once you're done, again, once that's done, you can attach it, right? Right. And if there's an existing one, you can also download it, right? If you don't know anything about what a CSV is, just click on the learn about CSV templates, okay? And then follow the instructions here. Again, this is all great information for you. Again, it explains step by step. It'll show you everything that you need to know, especially when you're going down the formatting and how you're manipulating the data within that Excel sheet. You also want to look at the file format guidelines. Again, resolve the common errors. Common errors is very important. You can read up the logs, right? Knowing the log files and where the logs are and how to read those logs are very important, right? So think about that when you get that kind of specific error. As contractors and admins, that don't really know. Again, our workspace help has that option. Again, downloading the free trial will help you understand how this all works. And if you put your mind into it and you find some way to create the account, sort of like what I did here, and showing you guys how to do that, you can actually try this out for yourselves, right? So just follow along with me for now and read up on, you can follow and listen, take notes. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to message me on WhatsApp. Um, uh, we also talk about community within our workspace admin help. What is community? right? So the Google Community Workspace talks about the featured posts. Now, say you have a question or an announcement and you want to know some like known issues that are happening, or you want to become a product expert, or you just want to know the status of the dashboard. You come to the community, and that's where all the questions will be asked, right? There's also some great videos here from Uncle Department of Uncle, um, which is pretty cool. You know, you can definitely look at that and follow the IM details, the category, et cetera, keyboards, and so forth. Again, updated this year. There's about 6 replies. Again, how to contact the workspace support if you don't, without access to the admin console. You just click on that and then watch the video, and they'll show you how to do that. So again, the answers are here for you in the admin Google Workspace admin help. So it's just a click away. Um, if you have any questions, you would call them for help center, and you can ask whatever questions you need. All right, give me one sec. And then once you're done with that, you can satisfy how the help experience was with Google. Um, again, you can see all the replies and stuff. Well, anyway, so this is the community. Very straightforward. Again, this person here is a diamond product expert. Again, I don't know who this is, but again, this will have videos for you, and it'll explain everything and give you all the answers you need. If you need questions regarding your account, you just click on that and then follow the instructions, personal info, payments, peer share, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So going back to the admin center, when we look at the specific users, we look at a few things here. I'm going to zoom out here for you guys to kind of see the whole thing. Again, we can use the magnifying glass magnifier. So if you take a look at the magnifier, right, you can use the magnifier to manipulate if you want, right? So again, all organizations, again, you have users from an organizational unit or AKA OU, or users from a selected organizational group. In my instance, I've created a test OU, and I've able now to manage my specific users, bulk user updates, downloads, and other options, right? Um, Again, these are things that the basic user will have. Again, things like name pronunciation. So allow users to edit their name pronunciation. No. Allow edit to their birthday. No. Right. And work location, you also want to uncheck that for your external use. So if you are internal, you want to know what floor or building they are remotely, then you're able to click on this and you should be able to add the specific buildings and floors that they're in. That way, you know where the specific offices are. Um, the work location is used for the colleagues and the contact information. You also have your smart rooms, and again, those are sort of like our in admin center and in Outlook. We have our different meeting rooms, right, for collaboration. And in terms of admin center, they have our buildings and resources, and this is where we manage our resources, especially with the admin center for Exchange. So if I were to log into my admin portal and click enter, right, and type in my email, I don't like that, so I'm going to, okay, there we go. So I'm going to enter in my email, and you're going to do the same thing. Again, you can name this whatever you want. You can name this I love shoes.com, or I like ice cream. You can name it whatever you want. This is a fictitious environment, so you can name it whatever you want. But again, if you are, gonna do that. Make sure that that account is with you for the remainder of 30 to 60 days. So we're gonna click next here. Uh, yeah, we should be able to click next here now, and then I should be able to add in my username and password with the different authentication options. So I'm gonna enter in my password because that's what I want to use. I see that this is a little bit different. So if you don't see this in your environment, again, you can sign in with PIN or smart cards if you do have that, or different other options, like your smart cards or your Titan USB sticks. So again, those are the different options that you set. The authentication is based on um, what you set it to be as an admin. So ensure that you're able to set it to the right specifications and edit the right information. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. Oh, I didn't pronounce it properly here. So this is on Microsoft.com, right? And then I'm gonna not keep myself signed in for now. I'm gonna enter in my password. No, did I change it? Okay, give it 1 second. There we go. So again, this is in our cloud environment. It looks like the um, I guess the different app protection between work and school policies were in place at the time, so I wasn't able to sign into that. Um, so I'll sign into it using my external email, right on my. Okay, there we go. And then I'm gonna ask it for my Google Authenticate. Again, if you don't have it, install it on your computer. As of October 15th, all companies are requested to install Microsoft Authenticator app on all phones and devices. Right? So just ensure that you have those specific security settings in place. Okay. I'm gonna open up my Authenticator app. I had to reinstall it on my phone. Give me 1 sec. All right, and I'm gonna prompt the number. Oh, I might have to resend that again. Okay, to reinstall it. Click yes. Once it's authenticated, you should be able to. Um, 1 second, guys. All right. So if I put that in, should say should authenticate now. Once I accept that, okay. So again, in your own environments, right? In your own environments, please go ahead and start creating your environments, create your subscriptions, learn the upcoming changes. you know, differentiate yourself from your peers. As an administrator, again, um, when we're looking at the specific things within our work locations and stuff and whatnot and our floors, we also have that set up in our admin center. So if we're looking at our exchange online, right? So if we have our exchange online here, right? You have the different mailboxes you can create, right? And different mobile reports. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys, and other features that are involved. So I have my resources. So this is where I can create my room resources and my equipment resources. Uh, Again, adding a room resource is very straightforward. You can select and set up your room mailboxes, right? But we're not doing it here. There's another course for that. Similar to this, you're gonna allow you want to minimize what you want to do. In certain companies, we're gonna allow pronouns, and we're gonna allow users to edit their gender, and we can allow users not to add profile pic. Well, yeah, they can add their profile pics, right? But it has to be set up to the specific um, specifications. Allow users to edit their introduction. No, that's fine. And allow users to edit. No, that's fine. This is just to kind of show you guys what it looks like, especially in your own environments. Um, again, or building your own environments, right? So the overview of the resources is similar, like I showed you guys here in Exchange Online. Again, when you're setting up your different resources and mailboxes, right? And so this is sort of where the admins can change either your room mailboxes or your equipment mailboxes or rooms or study rooms or whatever room mailboxes are assigned to that specific location, branch, floor, or room. If a user, if an equipment mailbox is assigned to a user and they aren't in that specific location, for example, like a portable computer or projector, um, we can actually reserve those rooms for that and send those up in meeting requests, right? For you admins, please, all the admins, please click on learn more for about resources, right? And you can read up on the different resources that are available within your EAC environment. So again, these are just the specific settings that I want for my users to have. Again, yours can be different. I also want to add the room insights. Actually, I need to save that, right? So for example, you can always add your buildings here. So whatever branch or building you're at, we can change this to very changes to the settings or bulk upload resources. So I can add new resources here or just add a bulk of resources, right? Or we can automate that to whatever you want. So when we're adding a building, we're adding a specific building in terms of ID, name, floor, and address. Again, we go to the directory settings to change the editability permissions, especially when you're assigning a room or a resource to a specific building or a group of a department that needs to use that meeting room, right? So there are bulk uploads. Again, if you have thousands of buildings across a WAN environment or in other in like let's say US or US data center or Canadian data center or Europe data center or globally, this is where data residency lies, and this is where we can manage our buildings. We also have, again, within the directory, we can also use the directory settings, right? And we can enable the contact sharing, external directory sharing, which just has to be on. You don't want your organization um, to share outside, so you want to manage that. We can choose which user email addresses should be visible to other users and how that's done. So when we're showing all this, again, we select the specific um, dot and then click on the dot and then select it in blue. Once those changes are made, you need to select save. And again, in this instance, our browsable directory should only be domain shared context, show only domain profiles, or we can have both profiles and shared contacts, right? So again, that's totally up to you and your company. We can use the learn more to learn a little bit more. So choosing your user email that should be visible to other users. Yeah, we want to have that visible, but again, it should only be show only email addresses in the user's primary domain, right? If we do have any secondary or aliases emails, like for example, you have a secondary email or a third email or a fourth email that's attached to you and the user has a primary email address, it'll only show that. Okay. So if, again, choice is yours. Again, it's up to you. And again, you can view the prior changes in the audit log for auditing here, and we can audit and investigate it however we want. When we're creating reporting rules, again, this is, it looks like this is incoming months, the audit and report investigation. We'll have to view the privileges will be required to access the investigations tool data sources. So this report's privilege will no longer be sufficient to your companies, but to help your company prevent disruptions, us as admins or your admin department should have reports privileges before this change takes in effect, and that will continue to have access. Again, we can learn more about this change and make the appropriate changes where we need and investigate how we need to, right? We can also create. We can also talk about logs. We can also talk about the pinned meet log events, LDAP events, group log events, graduation log events, whatever we need, user log events, whatever we need to get, whatever we need to audit and investigate, especially when it comes time to reporting. So we can create reporting rules here. We just give it a quick name. All right, we're going to call this test in our fictitious environment, and we're going to give it a description and then enter the domain. Once we're done, we're going to view the conditions and then set up the conditions based on your condition builder and how you want to edit those conditions, right? So we either have attributes or strings, device types, right? So in our device type, for example, we need to contain devices that have Windows 10, right? So this is sort of like your dynamic, right? So we'll have our dynamic group, sort of like what we have in Intune, where we have our dynamic and security groups, or automatic and sorry, your security groups that are both dynamic and assigned memberships. So you also have your other conditions that you can add. Again, you can add attributes, you can add actors, you can add device types, events, group emails, multi-party approvals, requesters, multi-party approvals, setting org unit names, user emails, et cetera, et cetera. So I've now created this condition to show all my device types that contain Windows 10 in that. And then that's where I kind of am able now to search it. Now, the more devices I have, the more devices I can continue to search, right? If I want to look up, let's say, chat log events, I can now create specific conditions for that and specific attributes and give it the specific attribute or query that I wanted to query, right? Once the conditions are done, and again, this is really similar to Intune. Once we're done, you have the ability to again make those changes wherever and whenever you need. So make sure that you guys are taking a look at that and making those changes as required. I'm going to cancel out. Right. We also have our within our directory. We also have our directory settings. Right. We've explained that already. We're going to now go down to directory, which is in beta mode, directory sync. So this right here is our directory sync, and this is where we can kind of sync objects from Azure Active Directory within here for Azure Active Directory. So I can set up those and add Active Directory to my LDAP directories if I needed to, right? So as soon as I connect to my Active Directory server, to my Google directory, I can complete the specific tasks, set up my cloud VPN and cloud interconnect with my VPC access name, and my project ID and et cetera, et cetera. And again, you must have a Google platform, cloud platform, which is what I have here. If you guys want to create that again, you just go to Google platform, cloud platform, right? So I'll sign into my cloud.google.com, right? And then go to my console. And then I could set up my different project IDs and my different projects that I have that I need for what I needed to. So again, here's my storage buckets. Here's my big run queries. Here's my IAM admin stuff, cloud storage, etc. Kubernetes for the Kubernetes containers. If you have your Kubernetes containers, and if you're using VPC networks, you can also use that as well too. Follow up on your recommendations as admins and developers. We need to follow up on that, especially when we're creating these. And this will kind of also help us for different recommendations that we need, and we can help our organization by resolving those issues and how to save money. Very important. So when we're looking at the Google admin directory, this is our directory sync. So for people who wanted to move to Jump Cloud or to Intune, again, directory sync is in beta, so you guys should give this a try. We also want to look up our browser. We have our setup guide. We're going to click on our setup guide here. I'm not going to cancel this. Cancel this, right? And again, you can begin with the basics for Google OS Chrome users and departments who own the Google Chrome OS and the Chrome browsers. Again, this is a enrollment phase where we need to enroll Chrome Enterprise to our environment, and we need to start setting up and deploying our specific infrastructure. So our infrastructure is again in the midst of being created, and we can start by adding admin users or verifying your domain, right? And adding it to our allowed domains list, right? If you have any aliases, it'll be here. If you have any allowed domains, you can also add the allowed domains here. For example, you have a child or a branch domain, like for example, you have one in London, right? And then your domain name, right? So again, make sure um, you have that all set up. If you have another branch office in, let's say, I don't know, US, like Boston, like in our AD, we have Boston dot dot. If you have it in New York, we can do New York branch dot 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 dot. And then we can add up to 200 domains at a time and separate those domains by commas. I can add 2 domains here if I want to. I can add, right? So I don't have to do it one at a time and then separate that by commas, right? And then add. So I've now added these 2 domains, and now I'm able to save those 2 domains, right? So that's our allowed domains list, and those are the only 2 domains that are allowed in my environment. Um, Again, we also have our admin roles. So if we're looking at our different admin roles, we have our different permissions and how we learn about admin roles for those groups, and we can assign those specific system roles or privileges to our super admin role. We can assign admins, we can view privileges, we can view admins, et cetera, et cetera. So our super admin is our Google Workspace administrator seed role. So that'll sort of like our global admin. You also want to have for break glass, you want to have multiple super admins in your environments that are knowledgeable in this work field, sort of like what I am, right? So, for example, when you're looking at those specific roles, we can create different roles, or we can use the default roles that they have and then create those different role features. For example, we can add, I don't know, assets role, right, for the asset management, right? And then we can give it a specific. So this role is strictly for for asset management, right? And if your company has thousands and thousands of assets, you want to be able to um, create that specific role and then assign it to your contractor, whoever your vendor is that's in terms of doing that, right? So that's the rule. And again, we can give it specific privileges for that vendor or for that contractor, right? But in your environment, you want to make sure that you have these specific privileges all set. There is our organizational units. We can set up our different read, write, and execute, or read, create, update, and delete. In our users column, we have our different read and create. So allow different users just to read if you want, or you can allow users to update, right? But or allow users to delete. No, you don't want users to delete or update or create or read, right? If the user is a contractor, you want to be able to maybe let's say we want them to create assets. Yeah, so yeah, we'll give them the create, right? But upon clicking on the create tab, that'll gray out other options. So that'll give us 20 privileges. So we'll need to specify that and read and then grant the corresponding admin API resource privileges. So once I click read, this one here for my asset management gave us 20 privileges selected. So if you look at the gray areas here, those are the 20 check boxes that we checked, right? And the different sections, right? From manage Google Play Store, Drive and Docs, et cetera, et cetera. You also want to be able to, make those changes accordingly for that specific role. So if I have a contractor for 3 months, you don't want to give them full access, right? Especially in that trial period. You want to make sure you minimize the access and in terms of zero no trust policy. So you want to give it the no trust policy effect, especially when you're doing that. Again, just continue to scroll down, take a look at it. Once you've created your role, you can take a look at the different options and test and see what you can do for that, right? So I'm going to click on back. I'm going to cancel out of that. Again, I created the asset management role. I'm just going to leave it default for now. It has 22 options, and then I'm going to click create. Our default roles, again, in this section box here, we can copy a role, we can edit the role info. So we can copy it, right, and rename it, right? We can assign members, right? And we can assign those roles to the security groups as well, sort of like what we did. And if you want to learn more about those roles and groups, you just need to click on that. And if you are interested, please contact me and we can discuss alternative options to get this started for you or work with you on getting this started with your IT department. Um, so let's go back to our okay, asset management. So we also have, that's our account section. We also have rules. So again, we can create rules and create alerts, right? So for example, um, there was one here for where is it? Suspended users by admins. So we can activate that. So the admin has suspended an account. Well, we can turn that off or on. And then user grant admin the privileges. We can turn that on or off for system defined resources. We also have our TLS failure, users deleted. So if a user's been deleted from the domain, we can turn that on or off, right? For that specific query and give it the specific actions that we need to create. So we did directory, we did Google Chrome browser, we set up the guide, manage browsers. Within here, I can enroll and export browsers, right? I can create tokens, right? The enrollment tokens for that and have that in case the user misplaces it, right? And then export that so that that person has it. So in our fictitious environment, we have 2 active users. We also have our apps and extensions area where we have our Play Store, Google Web Store, and then for kiosks. So if your company has a kiosk machine, you can add the specific policies for that or add the apps, and if you click on the yellow button, you have these three. So you can add from Google Web Store, right? You can add the Chrome app or extension by ID, right? Or you can add by URL. We also have our connectors. Take a look at that. Again, you can connect your Okta, you can connect CrowdStrike, Duo. You can enable these specific uh, connectors within Google and enable that. So I'm going to enable that, and I'm going to agree to the, and I'll see if I can add one. So plus new provider configuration. So we can set up our security operations, Splunk, Google, CrowdStrike, Falcon, LogScale, Palo Alto Networks, CrowdStrike, Chrome OS, Cisco Duo. Then we also have our phone systems like Cisco Finesse. You guys heard of that? If you guys also heard about CUCM, which is a Cisco product, right? Then we have Avaya. That's another company, right? For phone systems, you can use Avaya systems. If you're using Avaya systems, you can um, make the necessary changes here. Let's, so if you have a Palo Alto network configuration, you can test the connections with your API keys and then you can work with your developer teams to do it and get the information that you need. So we'll create events like password breaches, right? Or login. So if you're breaching passwords, we can allow that option for that specific network and allow users and events, user and browser events. So for example, we want to allow all, we just want to allow the selected events, right? And we can make the different event changes like malware transfer for this user and browser events, right? So there are different default ones that you can click, and there's also different logs for that. So depending on your workspace edition, you might have access to the security investigation tool, which will help you and it has the more advanced features. So look at the different features that you have for your company, especially when you're setting up the reporting connectors. So, um, again, read up on this. This is a good read. The different widgets here. These are the different attributes, right? So you can take a look at that. This talks about hash, right? Content hash. We want to make sure that our content hash is, they say what it is. So our SHA-256 hash, sort of what I showed you in my other video when we downloaded the Windows ISO file. We talk about device extension, events, event reasons. This will explain all of it to you. So you can go ahead and look at that. You can filter data by threat and data protection events, right? And you can take a look at that reporting tool for that and like the different crash events, extension installs, malware transfers, login events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's there for you to browse and to explore. I'm not going to set up the provider, but again, if you want to set up the provider, you're more than welcome to. We can also set up printers. It's called cups. So we can set up our printers from a list of printers and print servers that we have. So if we have a print server or a printer in our environment, we should be able to display the information like our models and description through a list. In this section here, if I click on the yellow button here, I can go to add a printer or I can upload printers in my CSV format, right? If I also have a list of printers here, I can also include that in my test OU, right? And then upload that. Or I can search for a specific printer and then look for that printer wherever I need, right? So make sure your admins are doing that and they have that information there readily for them and they have that set for you when they're helping you or assisting your department, right? So you as admins, you guys should know how to do this. So familiar yourself with the areas, right? The cup server system, right? And know how that works. Again, you can get your different reports in Chrome, right? So if you want to add printers to the Chrome environment, you can. You can get reports on the versions, right? You can get the Android apps, right? If you have Android Play Store, a marketplace in your environment. So if your company or marketplace has Android devices, you can have those Android app installation reports here, and then export them to whatever you need, right? Reports also has insights. So again, insights is just a um, chart or graph, a line graph, right? And that'll give us the graph for devices received in their last automatic update. And I can do that for the next 6 months, or I can do that for the next year. I can do that for whatever. So again, make sure your device lists are imported, right? Right? You've imported your devices, right? And you can view that in the list. We also have mobile and endpoints, similar to our uh, endpoint manager, right? So if we're looking at our endpoint manager, we have our apps and our devices, right? So if we look at our devices, right, I have 7 fictitious devices that I've created, right? I can have Mac devices, I can have Android devices, right? And we can have Linux devices. So if you have your Linux devices for those POS systems, you're more than welcome to use that as well too. And we can create and onboard those however we need. Just remember to create your specific device configurations, right? I have my multiple device configurations created here. So I have my administrative templates, I have my device restrictions, and I have my domain join, my settings catalog. Just ensure that you're creating these, right? And using that. If you need to import your ADMX files for, right, you can import your ADMX files as needed, which is sort of what I did here. And you can import them to Google Admin Center if you'd like. So let's go back to our admin. So we're in our Google admin here, and we're looking at our specific networks. So if you're looking at your specific networks or boundaries, sort of like our MECM players here, we can create our Wi-Fi networks here. We can create our Ethernet networks here. We can create our mobile networks here. And again, give it that IP range based on those ranges that we talked about, and have the specific domain, guest, and private firewall properties that you need. So especially when you're creating those properties. So if we were to go to our Active Directory users and computers, again, our on-premises, for example, our on-premises networks will show here, right? And then, for example, we want to auto connect. We have our general settings. We could set up our SCEP, which distributes the certificates to those managed devices by your CA, your private CA. Again, you have to purchase your private CA and certificates for that. So make sure you talk to your domain uh, administrator for that if you need that specific information. We also want to talk about SIM locks. If you want to lock your SIMs, we're inheriting it from Google default. Again, we can set those specific profiles here in our specific OUs. For our global policies, so for our firewall policies, so if we're looking at our firewall policies, be it on-prem or be it third party like Checkpoint, um, like Norton, like different Qualys, different companies that they have. That's just to give you a list of companies. Those settings should be available to you and readily available to you when you need, right? So going back to our group policies. So if I look at my group policy management, right, I have my different firewall policies and my folder redirections in within here, and I've also created my different um, starter GPOs, right, and reporting. So if I want to edit this, right, I just click on edit, for example. Let's say my BitLocker policy. I can edit my BitLocker policy here, right, and then go to my preferences and go to my control panel settings. And within here, we want to set up our, let's set up a BitLocker policy for printers, right? And then, or whatever, it doesn't matter, folder options, right? We can create a new one, create a local printer, right? And set up the common paths here. So for example, I want this action to create a printer name and port, and then click apply, right? So I'll give it the specific USB port. If it's a local port, give it the location, where the location is. So say, for example, in the mailroom, where your printers are located, right? And then give it the comments there. You're also now able to, let's give it a name. Let's give it test mail room, right? And then give it the printer path, right? So you can find that here, right? You just need to type in the name and then find now. That'll give you the list of results if you have that set up already. Okay, I don't want to, let's see what we can show you here. This was not a good example, but let's see if we can create an admin here. Let's create a new admin or a local user for a computer, right? Um, and let's create this, like our WDGA, let's create a WDGA utility account, right? And we can give it a full name, right? And we want to create or replace it, right? We can replace this through group policies as well too, right? Create our service accounts wherever we need. So this is known as item level, um, right? So when we have our item level targeting here, we're able to target our different item levels, right? And set up our new item levels based on whatever options that we need, and then go from there. Okay, so that's item level policies. Again, if you need to know the configuration reports for that, again, if I were to click on my configuration reports, I can collect my reports for my BitLocker policies here, right? And then have my report here and then set up and show all my reports. And this will have all the information if I need it or not, right? So for example, this is the computer report, and I just want this to be a computer report and not a user report. It's always a good idea to hide the user configuration. That way, you know, it's segregating for the computers and not just the users. I see a lot of companies do that. And you can set up the different permissions and whatnot here. So this is my MDOP, GPO for BitLocker, map drives. I want to map my drives here, folder redirection, whatever I want to do for my different domains, right? And setting them up that way. Okay, so again, networks, when we talk about networks for our MECM users, again, in the MECM boundary groups, you can look at those specific boundaries if you need to know what those, or talk to your network administrator for that. Again, these are the different options. If you go down, we'll go down to apps. Within here, we can add our apps or Google Workspace. In terms of our workspace, our services there, we have 14 services. We can add and remove whatever services we need within our classroom. Right. Um, we can also add web and mobile apps for external users. We can add certificates for that and add the app that way. We can add it through a private Android app if you have one. If your company developed one, you can add a private Android app, web app. If you add one as well here, this is all. Or if you have a custom SAML app, you can also add that here based on your specific information that's shared with the app users, right? So you have your identity provider details here, your service provider details, and your attribute mappings here. This is where we would go for that. We also have our generative AI like Gemini. So Google Admin uses Gemini. Right. So Gemini is sort of like our co-pilot. So we can access Gemini here. Gemini, um, you just click on gemini.google.com, right? And we can chat with Gemini and we can add it to our business for our developers, right? To have them take a look at that for our developers. So as a developer, I want to, focus on our Gemini APIs, right? And our gemmas and the different tools that are available within here, right? We also have our, again, library here where we're able to uh, create the different options here. I'm not going to do that right now. This is just a basic introductory and test environment for you guys to take a look at once you guys have created your accounts. So when we talk about apps, we also talk about the Google Workspace marketplaces, right? So we need to go to a marketplace. So even if we're to go to a marketplace, for example, and purchase a Switch or purchase something or purchase an app, this is where Google Play Store would be would repository have the repository or catalog of all your apps. So this is where we're able to make those changes, right? In terms of the specific apps that are needed or not needed, right? And we can make that. So for example, we have Google Meet. So Google Meet is our Zoom meeting call for Google, right? Within here, we can, um, change the different statuses and whatnot for that. And if we need to learn more about those specific statuses, we can click on the learn more, right? So if our service status changes need to be propagated, this is where you would come. Again, we can perform tasks like managing those mobiles. And again, I think it has less than 1,000 seats, but it can take up to 24 hours sometimes to create it. And then we can make those changes within our domain host, like our SPF records, right? Um, and we could take a look at that if we'd like. Again, if you have any questions, you go here or to the community pages for that. We also want to add an app, all right? So we have a specific service we want to add. In this case, we want to add Google Classroom or turn it off. In our case, we can turn it off, right? We can turn this on or off, right? We can also work with Collab, right? To turn it off or on. We can also, turn the specific uh, services that we need for everyone off, right? So that, or whatever we want on for that specific group, they can use it however they want. Once we're done with that, we can add that to our specific OUs, right? Again, this is different from Jump Cloud. Jump Cloud is a little bit different, but again, with Google Admin, we're now able to, um, you know, manage our directory syncs with our beta, so we can have all our stuff here if we want, right? These are our services here. So again, adding and removing those specific services do take time. Again, so make sure that you say, for example, you want to take off Vault to add your passwords. You can use Vault to add your passwords. But again, we need to speak to your admin console. So you need to log into your admin console in order to set up those services, okay? I'm not going to set up a service here today for you right now, but again, set up your own environments, take a look at it, play with it. If you have any options or questions or any alternative feedback, please let me know. All the options are there for you. I'm going to stop this for now. Again, you know, thank you for joining me. I hope this session was informative. And this is Sal, your systems architect and trainer. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email me or message me on WhatsApp, okay? Make sure to tell me what video you saw, what question you have, and where in the video you're stuck on, and we'll have me or myself or somebody in the group help you with those specific questions, okay? So don't be shy. If you want to email me directly, please feel free to email me directly, and we'll go from there. Well, thanks again, guys. If you have any questions, I guess we're done. Hope this session was informative, and have a great day.